Hey guys, Katie from the K Show blog here, and today I just wanted to do a quick video on how to take photos of the animals when you're out on a safari or a game drive. And more importantly, I wanted to sort of talk about how to balance getting some cool photos while still being like practical and realistic if you're on a budget or not like a professional photographer or anything like that. So I recently got back from Amakala Game Reserve in South Africa, which is amazing. It was my second visit there, although this time I stayed at a different lodge. And if you want to experience a big five safari anywhere in Africa, like I can really recommend this because obviously I've been there twice now. I loved it enough to go back, and it's just such an amazing experience out there with the animals, with rangers who you can really tell and really feel how much they respect the wildlife. And then you get that luxury sort of glamping experience as well. All the staff are amazing. Like, I really love it. If you're looking for somewhere, I will leave like all the links for stuff I've done about them in the description if you want more information. Otherwise, let's get into how to take photos. I even got this rhino t-shirt that I'm wearing today in the spirit of this video because I got it at the reserve because the proceeds went to helping rhinos. So anything I can do to help them, I'm happy to. If you go and visit, make sure you get a t-shirt too. We'll be twinsies. Okay, so back to work though. I assume if you're watching this video, you're somewhat interested in photography. Maybe you have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. And so most of my tips soon we'll be focusing on that. But if you're not interested in any of that, you could just use your phone. Any phone. All the phones now have great cameras. It's not going to be as good as a camera. You might get a great photo if the animal does come close to you, but that's kind of a luck of the draw. So if an animal does sort of walk close by the Jeep, you'll get a good photo. You'll probably get a good selfie as well as they go by. But overall, once you have an animal that's further away and you have to zoom a little bit, you're gonna lose the quality. So the pros of using your phone are it's very convenient, it's very small, you can keep it in your pocket, pull it out, you don't have to play with any settings, you take a photo. So it's very convenient and very practical in that sense. But for that convenience, you do have to sacrifice a little bit of the quality, and the photos just aren't gonna be as like crispy and neat. So that could be one option if you're not interested in getting a big camera. The other option is GoPro. I also took my GoPro on game drives every time, and I use this mostly for some videos, just like B-roll for some videos I make, and then also for selfies. Like if an animal comes fairly close to the Jeep, you can get a great selfie with them. But anything that's further away, this is a really wide lens and you're not going to be able to see as much depth or detail in the photo. Also, I keep mine on this, it's called the shorty pole, and this is like something I swear by because I fit it in like the waistband of my pants sometimes when I'm walking around, or in a pocket, because when it folds up, it's only this big. So it's a really convenient tripod and selfie stick if you are a solo traveler, or in this case on the game drive, because you want to be able to access things fairly quickly. And the other option, which is probably the one I would most recommend, is just to get a sort of cheap-ish compact camera. Something like the one I'm using to film this video, which is the Sony RX100 Mark IV. It's a great compact camera, especially for travel and solo travelers, because it's very small, can fit it in your pocket, and then you can just pop it out. It has a bit of zoom, so if the animals are further away, you have a bit of power in zooming in to get to them, but you don't have like the bulkiness of a bigger camera or anything like that. So you can just point and shoot if you want. So I would sort of go in that order, like the phone or GoPro at the start, and then if you want to take it one step further, I would go with the compact camera like this one. There's a lot of others on the market. And then if you want to take it even further, go to the next step, which is the DSLR or the mirrorless. And that's what we'll go through now. So if you look at articles on what to take on safari and how to take photos on safari, usually people will throw out the advice of getting a giant telephoto lens. They're like this big, they're usually that cream color, you know the ones. You see them at like sporting events and stuff. And I just want to reject that advice straight up, because those things can go for like $1,000 to even $2,000 for a good brand. Obviously you're not gonna buy a lens in a shitty brand. So you're looking at a lot of money for one of those lenses. And in my opinion, what a waste of money. Like realistically, when are you ever gonna use that lens again? Do you cover professional sporting events? Like, are you gonna go on safaris all the time? Like, you're probably just not gonna use it again. So it seems like a waste of money for a one-off thing. Where it would be good though is if you have more money and you do have an open budget and you can spend that much money on something and not worry if you get use out of it. more power to you, go get a big lens. I live on a budget. If I'm spending that much money, I need to get a lot of use out of it because there would have been a lot of sacrifice that went to getting that thing, and that's why I wanted to make this video, because I'm sure there's others out there just like me. The big lens though would also be good if you are a professional photographer or doing your work in a professional way. So you obviously want to get the best possible photos you can if you're being paid for it. So by all means, save up and go get one of those big lenses in that case as well. For everyone else though, I think they're over the top and completely unnecessary. Here's the lens I've used on all the game drives and safaris I've been on, and it's what I would recommend. And it is something like this. So I use the Sony brand. So this is a Sony lens. It's the 55 to 210 millimeter lens. This is from the E-mount range, and it has an aperture of 4.5 to 6.3. It's big and bulky compared to other lenses I use, but it's not massive, and I can still travel with it fairly easily. So you can get one of these lenses for about $200 to $300 on Amazon. So it's really not that expensive. But also if you don't have a camera yet, I recommend getting the Sony Alpha A6000. This has been my favorite travel camera, and you can get this camera in a bundle with this lens, so it works out a lot cheaper. So for example, this is what I did when I got this camera, and it came with this wide angle kit lens and then this one as well. And so this zoom lens worked out to being like $100 or $150 extra. So a lot cheaper than just buying it outright on its own. So if you do plan to do any safaris and you don't have your camera yet, that's probably like a good budget-friendly way to go because you can get everything in one. So one of the reasons I like this one, if you are going on game drives or safari and want to get some cool photos of the animals, is that it does have quite a powerful zoom, and it allows you to get up close and get some good photos of the animals with details of their faces or feet or whatever you want to take photos of. But it's still able to be used for other things and to travel with and things like that. This one is mostly my just safari lens, but at a pinch I have used it for portrait photo shoots. I've used it for photos of the moon when the moon's looking cool at night, and I've used it for travel and product photos for things I'm doing for the blog. So I've been able to get a lot of other uses out of it, not just like it being a safari lens. So that ability to be able to use it for more things like makes it a better purchase in my opinion. And even if it is just something you use for like safaris or game drives or bird watching or whatever, at that price point, it makes more sense for it to be something that could be used for one thing anyway. And like I said, I use a Sony, but no matter which brand you're using, you could look at other similar lenses in that brand, so it meets like whatever brand you prefer to use. But something similar to this lens has been really good for me, and it's what I would recommend if you are going on safari. So now we could go through a few tips for like actually getting the photos while you're on a game drive. Also, just side note, I'm so sorry if this is not making sense or it's a bit jumbly. I'm having an endo flare today, so not feeling the best, and I'm trying my best, but sometimes it feels like my sentences aren't coming out right. So I mean, I'm hoping for the best, but I do apologize for that. So the first tip I would say is you have to accept that you're not going to get every shot all the time, because it's not a controlled environment like it is when you're taking photos of people or buildings or things like that. The animals are on their own program and they're doing whatever they want, and you just can't control that. Sometimes you're going to fluke it and get the great shot, or they will look at you or do like a nice side profile or something like that and you get the great shot. Other times they just walk away and all you can get is a photo of their butt. So you just have to take both and know that you're not going to get it all the time. And really that's okay, because it's about the experiences with the animals, not the photos. So just remember to keep that in mind. Second thing is that it's worth investing in a polarizing filter for your camera. So that is something like this. You can see it in its case there. And this is just like putting sunglasses on the camera. So if it's really bright outside, you can actually see it because there's a bright patch coming in here on my hand. That's like, it's blowing it out at the moment, right? And it just goes white. So if you're taking photos outside and it's really bright, you can notice that it can get really overexposed and you get that blowout look, which is like a sky turns from blue to white instead. Things are really high contrast and shadowy. So having one of these to put on your lens, it softens all that, and then you can get some color back in the sky and in the grass and in the animals and, you know, whatever you're taking photos of. So I use this all the time on my regular camera. This one actually goes on my other lens. So all my blog photos usually, unless it's at sunrise or sunset or a night photo, if it's during the day, I always have that on, and that's the only way I can get some color back in a lot of the photos. When you're on safari, you won't need it for the start of the morning game drive or the end of the evening game drive, because that's like the closest to sunrise and sunset, and it's going to be a little darker, the sun will be lower, and you won't need it. It won't be bright, and the colors will be nice and soft anyway, so you're going to get great photos without it. When you're thinking about the end of the morning game drive or the start of the afternoon one, it could still be a bit bright, and it might be worth having it on your camera just to cut some of that brightness out. In saying that, I'm just giving this as a recommendation that you might want to look into it, but I've done all my safari photos without it because I don't currently have one that fits this lens, so you can still get great photos without it. But if you are wanting to sort of prepare for everything, it might be something to think about. And the only thing I'll recommend is the size of the filter you get isn't the same size of the lens. So my 35mm lens, it doesn't have a 35mm filter, it has a 49mm. So just look up, based on what size lens you have, what size filter will actually fit that, because they're different. Okay, so just a quick mid-video reminder that if you're liking this video or getting any value out of it, if you just pause, hit the subscribe button, maybe throw a thumbs up or leave a comment or something like that, anything you can do to help my channel really helps me, and I appreciate it so much. So another tip I have about getting the photos of the animals while you're on the safari is you're going to want a high shutter speed, just so you don't have blurry photos of the animals, since they will be moving around. They're not just going to stand still and pose for you. So I don't think, I probably didn't go under like 500 while I was out there, but there's no one magic number. You just have to gauge that based on the light conditions when you're out there. So you just want to get it as fast as you can for the light conditions that you're in, but definitely don't have it too low because the animals will just turn out blurry. And the only other thing I would say is don't forget to put the camera down and actually enjoy the experience. Like, this is such an epic and cool experience. You don't want to see the whole thing through a lens. Like, photos are cool, but living your life is actually way cooler. So my strategy was kind of, we'd pull up to an animal, I'd take a couple of photos, maybe a video, and then I just put my camera down and just watch them and be in that moment and really see the animal and experience a moment. And I think that's a great way to sort of have balance between those two things, because of course you want cool photos as well, but you have to remember to live life and not live life through a screen. So that's how I did it, but you figure out a way that works for you. Just remember, keep that in the back of your mind. So that's it for now. I'll leave any useful links in the description below. If you have any tips, or if you want to go on a safari one day, just let's start chatting, pop it in the comments below. And otherwise, I'll see you next time.